Hello and welcome to the theElpyDimension. I am your guide, Elpy. Today is the 6th of September 2025, and this is the Canadian Nightcrawler bin. All the paper on top. We were in here last 2 weeks ago on the 23rd of August. I see all this paper is dry. Well, topmost stuff. Then you see this stuff is sort of dry. And so half dry, half wet. But then we get here and all of this is moist. There is an adult Canadian Nightcrawler right on top. Not the biggest looking individual. I always kind of affiliate this color with, I always feel like they're less healthy, but this one actually more active than I give it credit for. Alright, so let's start on the right side. Here is one of our composting worms. This guy is going to get moved to bin number 2. And here's another adult. Now this one I feel like not so healthy. This one might be a little bit younger, or maybe just the clitellum is... Sorry, I had to sneeze. This clitellum doesn't look quite, isn't bulging quite as the other one. Either it's got something to do with when this one released a cocoon, or maybe that individual is younger. But here's another. So it's been a lot cooler outside for the last week, and down here in the basement we are actually below 70 for the first time in at least a month probably. So it's at 64, 66, 18, 20 degrees Celsius. So I bet they are a lot happier, the Canadian Nightcrawlers, because they prefer... Now this one definitely looks like a younger individual. So you can... It looks like it doesn't have a clitellum, but then there it is. Oh. Something just ignited some allergic reaction. Here's some young worms that... This one, I'm gonna guess this one is a baby Canadian Nightcrawler. I don't see any yellow in its tail. I think it's too big to be a blue worm. Versus this one has a yellow tip on its tail. It doesn't have a clitellum, so we aren't going to move it yet, but I'm sure that's either a European Nightcrawler or red wiggler. Yeah, so see, and this guy looks really unhealthy. There, it moved. But also younger, because the clitellum didn't look developed. So, I just saw... I started this bin January 25th of 2025. Well, this might be judging by the clitellum, the size of this worm with the clitellum like that, and the yellow on its tail. This is a composting worm, one of the other guys. So that's going in bin 2. All right. Let's speed this up a little. So, again, if you haven't seen the other videos, I am asking for your opinions on should I let the other composting worms that have found their way, been introduced, whatever, into this bin. Should I allow them to stay? I know they'll coexist fine, but the problem is that they break food down faster. They're breeding faster. And they could potentially warm up the bin. This, I think, is actually a blue worm. I don't know about the yellow on his tail. It could warm up the bin, which these guys don't love the heat. I just wonder if they would be an asset to the Canadian Nightcrawler population, or if they could be a problem. Here's more young, or younger, at least this one, Canadian Nightcrawlers, that don't look great. It seems that, so here's 3 cocoons, 4 cocoon, or 3 cocoons. Those are definitely composting worm cocoons. So yeah, let me know what you think. Should I leave the composting worms in the bin? See, there's Clatellum, well developed. Let's see, that's an adult. I always hate, because I feel like the Canadian Nightcrawlers are always around the edge, but this, probably a composting worm. That looks like a smaller Canadian Nightcrawler. Yeah, this material is cooler. I mean, maybe, yeah, see, this is a very, very small Canadian Nightcrawler. Starting to have a Clatellum. But they don't look healthy. Alright, this stuff down here is very muddy. Oh yeah, okay, we have a moisture issue in this bin. Still. Yeah, and it's got a swampy smell. That's definitely not going to help these guys in terms of their health. Oh, not cool. What do we have here? Composting. Oh yeah, I can feel that it's swampy down there. It's wet. Okay. It's the only reason I can't wait for the leaves to fall. I don't want them to hurry up and fall because I don't want summer to go any faster. But when it is time, all my bins will definitely be getting leaves. So, I'm going to dig up. So this is what I'm like. This bin could really kind of stand to be harvested. This is a young Canadian Nightcrawler. Obviously, so is that. You know, they don't look as healthy as they did when I bought them, which is unfortunate, but I'm new and I've never raised them before. So I'm getting it figured out. But yeah, this stuff is, it's not as bad as I thought, actually. The way it felt to my hand, I was like, oh no, it's super wet down there. But it is good to get some oxygen, because like I said, it's got kind of a swampy smell. We're going to take these papers, these bunched up papers, and just put them down there. And then we'll, is this a cocoon? I think this is a Canadian Nightcrawler cocoon. I think so. They're pretty big. And so we'll, this wet stuff, need to try to remember not to cover this up, because, alright. I want to expose the stuff from the bottom. Okay, we still got our pile over here. They aren't trying to move out of there very fast. Yeah, a whole bunch of composting worms. This is another baby Canadian Nightcrawler. How do I know? Because they have the flat spade-like tail. So they're still breeding. So that's good. Despite how unhealthy a lot of them look. But, I mean, creatures also breed when they think they're gonna die. Plants do too. Or, you know, reproduce. Okay. Couple more. You know, his, could tell him looks all sunken in, like this one. Yeah, they don't look so great. What would I need to do? Do they not like that they, you know, do I need to put new material in here? This one, see, this one feels rigid. Its body feels rigid and strong versus the more kind of sickly looking ones that they feel and look like they're already dead. I mean, do they need more soil? Is it that they can't get away from? But I imagine, though, people who raise them, you know, they don't have a... I'm sure they, you know, these commercial... There's a compost worm. These commercial operations have very large spaces for their worms, but you can't tell me that people don't ever raise them in smaller spaces. Here's another young one. To where if the worms are kind of in their castings for a while, I don't know. Maybe I should reach out. It's a composting worm. Okay. See, they just, most of them don't look all that healthy. Definitely sort of roughhousing a couple. But I'm pretty sure this is another baby. Somebody over here. They're not quite popping out and running around like they normally do when I disturb them. So, another composting worm. Maybe I need to add more. Probably need to feed them more. Add more plant matter in addition to like food scraps. See, look at this pile is still, they're just all chilling here. Like, I guess we'll count what we have here. Yeah, see, this guy does not look good. He's very long. It's very long. It has a clitellum, but it's super duper skinny. So I don't think they have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 if we count that little baby, 10. I don't think I have proper food for them. That's what I think. This is probably the biggest thing I'm looking at. 11. Yeah, that one looks good. 12. 13. Oops, 13 and another little baby. 14. 15. 16. 17. 18. 19, 20, another little baby, 21, 22, another little baby, 23, an unhealthy individual, but young, 24. So they're going to move. So I can't keep count, you know, just, I guess whoever I find in this left corner quickly, we can count. But there's 24. I started with 75, then I counted 70, and last time, what was it? 60 or 64 or something, not including little babies. So 25. They can move quick. So that's what I was saying. I can't just come over here and count. But I mean, I think if I count 26, count quickly, we can call it a rough count. Here's somebody, but I don't really like to like yank them out of. Was that 26? Again, this is a rough count. Composting worms, lots of composting worms. Canadian Nightcrawlers are composting worms. So they're not really composting worms. They do compost, so that's why I'm calling. When I say composting worms, I'm talking about blue worms, red wigglers, or European Nightcrawlers, in my case. Okay. I already see somebody over here. 27. Didn't look all that healthy. I'm not scrutinizing all these baby worms as to who they might be. Yeah, see, that's what I'm used to. See that one shooting out? That's what I'm used to seeing when I get in here. Here's a composting worm. Yep. Over in this corner, far more active. 28. 29. Yeah, see these? So, no surprise, this is the healthier corner. I'm assuming probably won't have the moisture issue the other one did. Okay, rough count, are we at 29? 30. Not real healthy looking. Bunch of baby worms. Definitely at least one. Yeah, well, at least one. That's probably a Canadian Nightcrawler. We'll call that 31. No, it still is pretty moist over here too, it looks like. But there's a worm down there. Oh, 2. 32. Not super healthy looking. So they're down there, so you can't say they don't like the moisture. 33. 34. 35. Those all look like composting worms. This is definitely. Let's go in bin number 2. Another composter. Okay. 33. compost. Show that big clitellum. Again, this is a rough count because when I count, if you haven't been here before, or you haven't seen any of my counting videos. Is this 34? I feel like I'm off. 35? I put them in a different container when I count because they typically move, they move pretty quickly. So that's why I keep saying this is just a rough count. Because it's not exact. It just so happened I kept finding this may or may not be a Canadian Nightcrawler. I'm not going to count it. I don't know if I'm smelling the rotting food that I have waiting to feed, or if it's this bin. I know that dead worms really, really stink. So let's call this 37. Okay, now I'll probably stop counting because if this guy's coming from over here, he could be coming from the pile. I mean, maybe we'll count these two because 38, 39, I think. Here's a composting worm. Because they very well could be. But I think it's safe to say that there are, now these guys are down at the bottom, so we'll count them. 40, 41. But again, remember, we've counted some babies. Yeah, there's another one. Yeah, so I think there's one down there. That's definitely not from the pile over to my right. Safe to say there's still 50 worms in here. 50 Canadian Nightcrawlers. There's way more 50 than 50 with the composting worms. So, jeez, these composting worms just exploded. They're gonna all go into bin number 2 because that's what's closest to me. Yeah, so there's at least 50 Canadian Nightcrawlers still, including babies. I am going to guess that my biggest problem is not enough food. That they really need me. There's another one. To feed them more. That I really need to get a whole bunch of plant matter. Because that's what I feel like these guys need the most. Get some coffee grounds. Do have, yeah, I think it is here, this bin that's kind of stinking. Yeah, see, there's our pile. They're still mostly over there. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna let a lot of this paper get buried instead of just sitting on top. I mean, but that is what they do. You know, they travel to the surface and then burrow vertically. Oh yeah, so this, I fed down here. Oh, grapes. Yeah, so there's a lot of shredded paper and composting worms. But see, so that's their domain. The food scraps. And I don't think the Canadian Nightcrawlers are as into the food scraps. I think they really like rotting foods. I think they need more of a mix of both, and I don't know. What I do have for them is a little bit of purslane. And we're going to give them some mushrooms. Clamshell mushrooms. So I'm going to put this here and see. Yeah, I don't really have much food for them today. Oh, I do. I have corn husks. I was going to give to the blue worms. All right. All right. Here's what we're going to do. I want a layer of these castings on top. I want a blanket of castings. We're going to put paper. Here's all our worms still over here. Not quite doing what. So all my worms are over here now. Give me some more of these castings. Oh, there's paper over there. All right. That's going to have to be fine for now. Hold on. Okay. Now, see, fruit flies don't seem to love this stuff. These are corn husks. Old corn husks. And I have a lot of them. Now, hopefully the worms like, 'cause that is a lot. And that's why I wanted I want to put a layer of this wet material over top. So wet in this bin already. I don't want to add any more moisture. Oh, I forgot I put that pile over there. So let's move some of the husks. I've never had husks like this in the bin, so this will be interesting, especially what with it being the Canadian Nightcrawlers. So, all right, we know there's at least 50 Canadian Nightcrawlers still alive. including some of those 50 being babies. And hold on. All right, we've got more. I forgot what I was saying. Babies. So yeah, we know we've got, I know I've got at least 50. I say we again, like talking to you guys, like saying, as a group, I know, we, you and I, might be a cocoon, know that there are at least 50 Canadian Nightcrawlers of all sizes in here. And maybe what I was going to say was that, and we also know, this is some leftover water that I don't want to add the water, but I just want to kind of soak this stuff. We know that a lot of them are not very healthy looking. So, while I'm providing a lot of plant material, I don't know how much corn husks are loved by worms, but I'm going to assume at least a little bit. But I still am planning, well, it'll probably be at least a week, but next time these guys need a nice feeding. Because again, maybe I underestimate just how much the Canadian Nightcrawlers eat. And now they have an exploding population of composting worms. So maybe that has something to do with why they don't look as good. But, yeah. All right. Well, that was an interesting visit. I think it always is, into the Canadian Nightcrawler bin. Still have at least half of the population. They are still breeding. This is still a lot of material in here, so it's not really gone down very much. But, yeah. So we'll see. Hopefully they like this. I don't think the fruit flies really like the corn husks. So hopefully, I don't know. They probably don't break down all that great. But I guess we'll find out, huh? All right. On to the blue bin. Be safe. Be well. Bye for now.